and women, all in the service of their country. A unique career this is, for theirs is that primary responsibility of ensuring this wall remains as intact, as it were, between a harmful brother or sister on one side and a vulnerable brother or sister on the other side of the same wall. Yes, their role, day in, day out, year in, year out, is to be with those deemed not abiding by the expectations of society. In other words, these uniformed civil servants contribute to public safety and security by ensuring safe custody of murderers, rapists, carjackers, pirates, etc. That is not all. They are duty-bound to offer social rehabilitation to make breakers of the law become good citizens ready to reintegrate into the same society they had wronged. Despite all this immense contribution, prison security officers are looked down upon by the same people they are out to provide security. Indeed, even after 40 years of independence, Kenyans still perceive prison officers as tools of oppression, a perception carried forward from the days of colonialism.
One thing when it comes to training of prison officers, we have programs at the Prison Staff Training College, whereby we don't train these people to punish. We train these people to rehabilitate prisoners through proper programs such as counseling. We have counseling in our institution and other rehabilitation programs. Once a prisoner comes into prison, we don't view that particular person as a criminal. We view that particular person as somebody who has come into an institution to be rehabilitated, to be changed, and to change his mind. If you have got criminal activities, when you come into prison, our work is just to train you, to talk to you, to counsel, to show you the direction, the best way you would live or you could live with the other citizens. Otherwise, you don't view them as criminals.
From the outside, and just the sheer mention of the name Committee Maximum Security Prison, as well as other Kenyan prisons, one may fear what lies behind these walls. However, as the gates slide open, we may very well discover a world that is totally opposite to our fears. Join us in a rare tour of Kenyan prisons. Experience the impact of the wind of reforms that has been blowing across the prisons since the year 2003. The Kenya Prison Service has a welfare unit which looks into the welfare of both staff and inmates. But why did it become necessary to have reforms in Kenyan prisons?
Kenya, like many countries emerging out of a colonial legacy, did not invest sufficiently in law enforcement and prisons. Obviously, because they felt that in the colonial era, too much emphasis had been placed on these sections of government which were perceived as punitive and anti-people. But of course, society has now changed. And like every other society, crime develops alongside other things. Now, after 45 years of very poor investment, I would say low investment in prisons, we have found ourselves in dire need of additional facilities, staff, equipment, and all the amenities really which are required even for taking care of prisoners. And of course now, because we are in an international environment, there are standard minimum rules for taking care of prisoners.
The Kenya Prison Service has grown gradually since its inception in 1911. It is a department in the Office of the Vice President and Ministry of Home Affairs. The department is headed by the Commissioner of Prisons, who is vested with the powers and responsibilities for smooth administration of the department. At inception, close to a century ago, there were 7,000 prisoners compared to the current prisoner population of 50,000 on a daily average. Kenya Prison Service has a staff strength of 16,000 uniformed personnel and 2,000 civilians. The core functions of the Kenya Prison Service are contain and keep offenders in safe custody, rehabilitate and reform offenders, facilitate administration of justice, promote prisoners' opportunities for social reintegration. Presently, there are 96 prisons, 2 of which are borstal institutions and 1 youth corrective training center. The main prisons include the following: Committee Maximum Security Prison, Nairobi Remand and Allocation Prison, also known as Industrial Area Prison, Langata Women Prison, Shimolatewa Main Prison, Nyeri Main Prison, also known as Kingongo Prison, Nakuru Main Prison, Naivasha Maximum Security Prison, Kisumu Main Prison, also known as Kodiaga Prison, Kibos Main Prison, Kakamega Main Prison, Embu Main Prison, and Garissa Main Prison. Our vision: to be a correctional service of excellence in Africa and beyond. Our mission: to contain offenders in humane, safe conditions in order to facilitate responsive administration of justice, rehabilitation, social reintegration, and community protection. Our motto: kurekebisha na haki, rehabilitation and justice. Improved prisoners' welfare is manifest in all the prisons. The Department of Kenya Prison Service encourages prisoners to take part in various games within the confinement of prisons in order to sharpen their talents. Within the Vision 2030 flagship projects, Kenya Prison Service is among the 32 government institutions and ministries that were targeted for reforms under the auspices of the Governance, Justice, Law and Order Sector Reform Program, otherwise known as GJLOS. So far, GJLOS is Kenya's most ambitious reform program.
Of course, there are issues of attitude, and attitude has been informed really by history. So there have been allegations of corruption, nepotism, poor training, poor housing, and even poor housing of inmates, poor practice, let's say, of general prison terms and conditions. So we have embarked on correcting these things. We have trained officers, we have sealed quite a number of loopholes in areas which are perceived to be corrupt, so that there is a perception of fairness, really.
You may be forgiven for being at a loss when you enter some of the prisoners' wards. Inmates are also supplied with tissue papers, something previously unheard of.
When a prisoner arrives, we meet him at the door, we give him a mattress or her, we give him or her 2 blankets, we give him soap, we give him tissue paper and 2 pairs of uniforms. Quite like a boarding school.
This is Langata Main Prison, the only maximum security prison for women, which means it receives women offenders from across the country. Prisons officers work hand in hand with the prisoners in making the environment clean.
In women prison, this is one place whereby you will get women who are children accompanying their mothers. You will get women who have been convicted maybe when they are pregnant. These are issues that you can't get in the main prisons. Yeah, and so the institution must have those facilities that cater for this group of offenders. That is in prenatal and postnatal, you know. And then maybe nurseries for the children. And even as they go to school, daycare, you know, for the mothers as they take their children as they go to work. Yeah, the daycare centers. So those are the areas that would say that maybe women prison, you know, are different from the male institutions.
Chapter 90 of the laws of Kenya allows children aged below 4 years to accompany their mothers in prison. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the service to provide the children with facilities that will enable them develop normally. Through the Welfare Office, Kenya Prison Service provides nursery schools, daycare centers and play toys for the children. The young ones are offered special accommodation fit for their innocence.